And welcome back here at halftime of the Division 6 state championship football game. It is all Marion local at halftime, leading Buckeye Central to the tune of 34-0. I'm Randy Rhinehart alongside A.J. Trapasso, joined now by Tony Mantell. He is the president of the OHSAA Board of Directors. And Tony, welcome to the halftime show.
Thank you, Randy. It's good to be here.
And let us talk about what you do. First of all, president of the OHSAA Board of Directors. I'm not too smart. So in layman's terms, what does that mean?
Well, I'm not too smart either. That's probably why I'm the president. But what that means is, Randy, we have 6 districts around the state that comprise the OHSAA. And each of those districts sends a representative to sit on the board of directors. And then in addition, we have a female rep, and we have a minority rep, and we have a junior high rep. So there are 9 reps total. And we basically do things to help run the organization, to deal with to referendum issues, what goes on the ballot to our member schools. Mm-hmm. We hear appeals, and we approve all kinds of different things that come throughout the year. But the president really, it's just, to me, it's an honor to do that. It's something that your fellow board of director members vote on in the spring as you're coming into the new board. Really, it's just I conduct the meetings. I have no more authority or no more power than anybody else. Sometimes people think I do, but I don't. But it's I'm one of 9 who do these kinds of things, and it's a pleasure to do it. And we do it. I think everybody's there for the right reason. We do it for kids.
But they announce your name when you come in the room, just like in Congress and everything. So don't downplay yourself at all. Now, what are some of the similarities and differences between serving on, say, a district board and the state board? What are the nuances there?
The district boards, the primary function of the district boards are to set up the district tournaments for all sports and run those through the sectional and the district and oversee those, make sure that everything is done correctly. The state board, really, we as board members don't get involved in running the tournaments whatsoever. Again, like I mentioned, we deal with referendum items. We deal with actually hiring or possibly firing, God forbid. That's not happened to my knowledge. We have a great staff. Similar to a school board. I mean, as a school superintendent, I can kind of explain it that way better. But our job is basically to deal with policy and to hire and fire those at the top, and usually it's higher. It's almost, to my knowledge, it's always higher.
So, Tony, talking about policy, what are some of the big picture items that the board is working on this year?
Randy, the biggest thing, and we're getting a lot of feedback on, is the competitive balance piece that we actually put on the referendum ballot last spring, and was a 51 to 49% vote to turn that down. But that is something we're still looking at very seriously, and kind of hand in hand with that is the Division I issue, where you have such a discrepancy in enrollment from the lowest Division I school to the highest Division I school. There are many as 600, 700, 800 student differences, and so we want competitive balance. And in some districts, they have more tradition, more opportunities, more money, more this, more that. And then there's an issue that some people feel private schools have an advantage, and we try to address all those things because we just want it to be fair for every student athlete in every school. And that is a major thing right now. Last year there was a formula that was derived by a committee to look at competitive balance. What are the factors that should weigh in? I mean, should economic factors weigh in? Other than just numbers of students, tradition factors, all those sorts of things. And I felt they had a pretty good formula, and it was voted on. It was defeated very narrowly, but there were so many other issues, and the Division I issue being one. It's like, hey, wait a minute, why should I vote for this if I'm a D1 school if you're not addressing my issue as well? And so right now we're doing that. We have a committee addressing the D1 issue. We still have our competitive balance committee together, and people have good points, good questions. Is this fair? Is that fair? And you can't wave a magic wand and fix that, but it's something we are studying. We are taking very, very seriously, because we want everybody to have the same opportunities.
We're talking with Tony Mantell. He's the president of the OHSAA Board of Directors, and you want to talk about dedicating your life to the students and student athletes. Superintendent of the Clay Local Schools, correct?
Correct.
And also 37 years involved in football, basketball, baseball, and girls track as a coach as well, too, all that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've got to ask you, do you have a favorite sport and all that?
Actually, my favorite sport is football. And
okay.
So that's why it's a thrill to be here this weekend. I'm a former football coach, football player, and I've played really all sports in high school, but I just enjoy football. And I have a son who is a football coach now, so it's always been my favorite.
All right, AJ, you can leave now. Then we have a new analyst for the second half.
All right, we're bringing him in.
Let us talk about your thoughts about this game. We make you an analyst for 30 seconds here. What are your thoughts about this first half?
Well, Marion Local has an outstanding football team, as does Buckeye. But Marion Local, so far, I think their quarterback has played outstandingly, has thrown some great balls. But as a former lineman, what I really watch, I watch the guys up front, and up front they're doing the job. Mm-hmm. They're very quick and aggressive on defense up front, and they're preventing Buckeye from moving the ball. And offensively, they're outstanding blockers. They get their pads below the defenders, and I think that's where they're really winning the game.
These are the kind of people like Tony Mantell that we have leading things when it comes to athletics here in the state of Ohio for the student athlete. Tony, it's been an honor having you on. Don't be a stranger. Congratulations and thank you for all that you do for student athletes around the state.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Nice to meet you guys.
All right.
Thank you, Tony.
We'll let AJ stay, but just in case, I'm going to have you in the bullpen.
AJ needs to stay. I'm going to go down and spend some time with my friends and family.
All right. Tony Mantell, the president of the OHSAA Board of Directors. Thank you very much. We're going to take a break now. Let's pause now for these messages from the Ohio High School Athletic Association. You're listening to the OHSAA Radio Network, brought to you by Chocolate Milk.
This is Joe Thomas from the Cleveland Browns.
This is Chinedum Ndukwe from the Cincinnati Bengals.
Take it from me.
Take it from me.
Nutrient-rich chocolate milk is an ideal beverage to drink after sporting events and practices.
Being active and eating healthy are keys to living well.
Chocolate milk tastes great.
Refuel with chocolate milk. It's a great way to fuel up.
Eat healthy, get active, make a difference.
I'm Professor Burke from the University of Farmers, where agents' intellects are focused like laser beams, and this is a pop quiz. True or false? There is no reward for turning 50. The big 5-0. False. By sitting down with a Farmers agent, you can get access to the Farmers 50-plus discount and many others that could save you hundreds on your home insurance. But other than that, it's mostly just slippers and bingo.
We are insurance.
We are Farmers. Bum, ba, bum, 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 bum.
Call a Farmers agent to discuss tailoring a policy for your home. Find your local agent at farmers.com.
You're listening to the State Football Championships on the Ohio High School Athletic Association Radio Network.
And welcome back to Fawcett Stadium here in Canton. All Marion local. At halftime, they lead by a count of 34-0 over Buckeye Central. And this one, Randy Rhinehart alongside A.J. Trapasso. On the field right now is the Marion local band. The director is Chris Redd in his third year. The assistants are Gene Smith and Nick Barrett, along with Ashley Evans. The field commander is Jamie Wink. 43 in all. Their halftime show is called Spy Chase by Brent Carrick. Let's take a listen right now. That was music from The Incredibles, and their halftime show consisted of Spy Chase, City of Lovers, featuring a brass quintet of Mallory Bergman and Sophie Heitkamp on trumpet, Monica Hemmelgarn on horn, along with Emily Long on trombone, and Nick Schmitz on tuba. Welcome to Cuba, featuring the trumpets and the mellophones, and as we mentioned, the music from The Incredibles, again featuring that same brass quintet. The band, well, they earned a superior rating at the State Marching Band Finals in Dayton. They're going to Disney World in April, and for more information on the band, hit the net at band.marionlocal.org. And everything going well for Marion Local, for the band and the football team at halftime. They're up 34-0. It's time now to pick our drive of the first half, brought to you by Marathon, fueling the American spirit. And AJ, I think we go back to that drive that went 11 plays, 80 yards, took nearly 5 minutes off the clock, and Lee Perrin made that great touchdown catch of 18 yards.
Yeah, the fade route to the back corner by Adam Berkey was just, right on the money. Right to Lee Piran, kept his eyes on the ball, and if you look up and down this stat board, I mean, it is just total domination right now.
Well, let's do that together, shall we?
We shall.
You let us into that. We'll take a look at first downs. Marion local on top in that category, 17-5. Rushing yards, they're up 85-24. Passing yards, 189-37. Almost all those in the second quarter. Total yards, 274-61. They committed 2 penalties for 15 yards. That's the only mistake they've made. When it comes to turnovers as mistakes, Buckeye Central had one. It was a fumble, and Alaric Keller picked it up and took it in some 40 yards for the touchdown. And with that, we have the score of 34-0. And Adam Berkey, 12 of 17 passing, 189 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jake Heitkamp, 13 carries for 47 yards and a score. Lee Piran, 5 catches, 92 yards and 2 scores. On the other side, Tyler Irwin, 5 of 10, 37 yards. Michael Atkins running the ball, 10 carries, 28 yards, along of 14. And Atkins has got 2 catches for 12 yards, and he leads in that category too. So not a whole lot of offense, but Marion local has had everything going their way.
Yeah, they could do no wrong right now out on the field. Everything that they've tried to do is working, and as we talked during halftime, they're just being efficient on everything that they do. They're blocking well, they're throwing the ball well, they're running the ball well, and on defense they're just overwhelming Buckeye Central with their speed.
We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk to Jerry Snodgrass, Assistant Commissioner of the OHSAA. And I should mention again too, this guy is a broadcaster because he knows what it's all about when it comes to dealing with the media. Always fun to talk to Jerry. I deal with him in so many sports, especially baseball in the spring, and Jerry still has that passion for the game. We'll find out what makes him tick when we come back. First, let's pause now for these messages from your local station. You're listening to the OHSAA Radio Network, brought to you by
Chocolate Milk.
Ohio students help create the association's program on sporting behavior.
Through the Respect the Game campaign, we are encouraging student athletes, parents, fans, coaches, and officials to do 3 important things.
Speak with courtesy, act with dignity, and play or observe with pride.
Bill Hoskett, Ohio State basketball All-American, NBA champion, and Olympic gold medalist on student athletes.
Studies show that students who play school sports tend to have better attendance records, higher grade point averages, fewer discipline problems, and are more likely to pursue a college education. High school sports also teach leadership, character, and provide the foundation for becoming a good citizen. Let's respect the game and remember to always keep student first in student athlete.
A message from the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
We're joined now by Jerry Snodgrass, Assistant Commissioner of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And Jerry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and thanks for the coverage you give to high school sports.
Well, I want to talk to you about a number of topics. First of all, as the OHSAA's administrator for soccer, this must have been an exciting state tournament to really work on. All 6 games played at Crew Stadium in Columbus. And I also know, very importantly, you set an OHSAA soccer state tournament attendance record, too, did you not?
We did, and actually over the last several years, each year our attendance has grown. We added this is certainly a tribute to soccer in Ohio, but we added a 3rd division in girls soccer for the first time this year. But actually speaking, we broke our attendance record prior to that 3rd game being played of the day. So we had great weather. We had great matchups. We had some of the Friday night in the boys Division I. We nearly had one side of Crew Stadium filled, and it was just an exciting atmosphere for everybody.
Does it help in this case to have a centrally located world-class facility for the high school kids to play soccer at?
I think it does. You know, it's in a way I wish we could play the Final Four there. We actually only play the championship game at Crew Stadium, but we just can't fit it in. There's no way humanly possible to do that. But when I show pictures of our state tournament at the national level in our summer meeting, people just look at that in awe. One, of the facility, two of the crowds, and just say what an atmosphere that is.
And now your attention is turned to the winter sports, I know, too, which, of course, is basketball for you. And are there any rule changes or points of emphasis when it comes to hoops this year that these schools are going to have to adopt to this season?
Well, interestingly enough, we often say that we think that a sport is in pretty good shape if there are not a lot of rule changes that take place. Henry Zaborniak, we're really blessed in this regard. Henry Zaborniak in our office chairs the National Rules Committee, and when you think about it, that's a pretty powerful position. The rules of the game of basketball across the nation are governed, with Henry as its chair. But there are very, very few rules changes. In fact, most of them just being mechanics changes by the officials themselves. Points of emphasis that have been there, it's a critical part of the National Federation's rules, really typically focus on sportsmanship and rough play aspects of the game. And, many things over the last few years, people have talked often that the game has gotten so rough. Much in the way of points of emphasis are geared toward cutting down on that rough play, cutting down on hand checking on the perimeter. And by and large, I think our coaches do a good job of implementing that into their practice structure.
We're nowhere near a shot clock in high school basketball yet, are we?
We aren't. It comes up every year, comes up on national surveys every year. And right or wrong, probably the number one thing holding it back is the expense of it. And people sometimes forget that it would be such a significant change to the game. For example, when the three-point line came in years ago, it was such a significant change to the game of basketball that you couldn't do it just at the varsity level. You would have to do it at all levels, being such a significant change. So now you're talking about, if you were to implement that, not only the cost of the clock, but you have an operator to deal with. And you would have that operator to deal with down through the freshman, down through the 8th grade, down through the 7th grade. And collegiately, they will tell you through the NCAA that one of the number one issues in the rules area are issues dealing with the shot clock. So we would perpetuate that even more at the high school level. People want it. But I don't see it happening.
And Jerry, too, I think there'd be more hand checking at the scorer's table, too. You talked about hand checking. The scorer's tables are only so big as well.
Well, that's true. And I think, again, people forget that most of those people working those facilities, at the scorer's table, they're volunteers in a lot of cases. Some schools anymore, people won't volunteer anymore. They expect to be paid. So you're talking about a significant expense for a somewhat limited individual that's trained to do it.
And Jerry, too, speaking of basketball, the tournament trail is an exciting time of year in pretty much every sport, but it takes a lot of coordination and planning, I know, too. What are some of the things fans should keep in mind when the postseason gets underway in terms of brackets, scheduling, and so forth? You're on the clock and you have 90 seconds. Go.
That's good, because I would tell you that number one thing, we are challenged in all of our team tournaments by people thinking that if one school has to drive 30 miles and another drives 35 miles, that it's unfair. And we are challenged with that right now to address that a little bit more. We have to remember that we have schools come basketball time that will be playing on 94-foot courts in almost all cases, but they're playing on approved National Federation courts. None of them will be at the home site of the school that's in the tournament. So at that point, it's a pretty neutral, benign thing. So we have to understand that for fans. Most teams should be happy to get to that regional tournament, but again, just a little a primer, I guess, when we get to the regional tournament. People tend to complain a lot more about that.
And finally, too, about football, too. I think the stadiums that we play at now are so vastly improved over what we saw just a decade ago. So many have, prescription turf or the artificial surface that is second to none. We've come a long way from playing in the slop and the mud sometimes to determine a state semifinalist.
We have, and at the same time, we've spoiled people by that, because people think that, a pristine grass field, whether it's soccer or football, you're not allowed to play on that anymore. You're being cheated if you don't. And so to some degree, we've spoiled people with that. But again, I think that is also a tribute to the emphasis and the degree to which schools put school-based athletics.
Jerry, it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, and thanks for the coverage you give to high school sports.
And let's pause now for these messages from the Ohio High School Athletic Association. You're listening to the OHSAA Radio Network, brought to you by Chocolate Milk.
Proud to stand on our own, proud to be homegrown, a familiar face and a name you know. Come on, we know you, we know your needs, we know what being a neighbor means. Can you hear it? Fueling the American spirit. No matter when, no matter where, Marathon will take you there.
Marathon, fueling the American spirit.
College football's only two-time Heisman Trophy winner, Ohio State's Archie Griffin, on the value of high school sports.
I was determined to succeed on the football field, but it's the life lessons that athletics taught me that will last forever. That began in high school when I learned the importance of discipline, teamwork, sacrifice, and responsibility. Those values stay with student athletes long after their playing days are over. Remember, the Ohio High School Athletic Association and Interscholastic Athletics seek to prepare students not for the next level of sport, but for the next level of life. At that, we can all be winners.
A message from the Ohio High School Athletic Association.
You're listening to the State Football Championships on the Ohio High School Athletic Association Radio Network.
And welcome back to Fawcett Stadium here in Canton. Halftime of the Division 6 State Championship game, and it is all Marion local. On top of this one, leading Buckeye Central at halftime, 34-0. Randy Rhinehart and A.J. Trapasso just enjoying some Taco Bell and chocolate milk here at the break as we get ready for the start of the second half. And a reminder that this broadcast is a presentation of the Ohio High School Athletic Association Radio Network. Any commercial use, retransmission, or distribution without the express written consent of the OHSAA is strictly prohibited. The announcers on this game were selected by the Ohio High School Athletic Association. And for more information, log on to the OHSAA Radio Network section at www.ohsaa.org. I want to remind you, too, if you're going somewhere, you want to listen online, we got plenty of options for you as well, too. I want to remind you, you can go to the ohsaa.org website or rocketm.com. And if you have a portable, a cell phone, there's a link on there where you can go to on the rocketm.com. Find out more about downloading the application to your cell phone as well, too. Plus, if you have a comment via Twitter you want to share with us, AJ has fired up his Twitter account at Trapasso15. That's TRAPASSO15, or also on Twitter at OHSAA Sports, at OHSAA Sports. 34-0 AJ here at halftime, and I tell you what, we knew that it would be the speed of Marion local, perhaps against the size of Buckeye Central. Speed kills. We know that. We saw that in the first half, and Buckeye local has so many weapons. And the thing that I can't get used to, and you can factor all the variables into this equation, is the strong arm and the composure of the sophomore quarterback, Adam Berkey. What a great job he's done. 6'4", 180, and he has been outstanding in the first half.
Yeah, one of the tough parts about having a young quarterback is teaching him how to manage a game, how to spread the ball around, how to avoid the turnovers, and he's doing it perfectly right now. He's managing everybody on the field. He's been the general out there, and like you said earlier, the speed and the amount of athletes and ability that the Marion local Flyers have is just overwhelming the Buckeye Central Bucks right now.
Let's take a look now at the other state championships that have completed so far. We're just over the hump right now. This is game 4 of 6 state championships that take place over 2 days in Canton and Massillon. Yesterday morning, it got started at Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon in D5 when Kirtland went the distance. They go 15-0, defeating Coldwater 28-13. And in that game for Kirtland, Hauber and Washington combining for 343 yards rushing and all 4 touchdowns, and they get the win in that one 28-13. And yesterday we had a dandy at D3. AJ and I had a chance here in Canton to call the contest between Cardinal Mooney and Shawnee, and Cardinal Mooney up 21-7. Looked like they were coasting, then Shawnee got a touchdown to cut it to 21-14. And we're driving downfield, AJ, but a pass was knocked away in the end zone with a chance perhaps to make a difficult decision. If you go for the tie, you go for the win, but Cardinal Mooney gets another state title, and 8 is great for them now. 8 crowns. And for Mooney, Roosevelt Griffin, 21 carries, 119 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah, the heart from Shawnee last night was just fantastic, and it was a pleasure to do that game, and it was exciting to the end.
And Mooney was money, as we've said before. Then in D2 last night, if you like offense, welcome to the Arena Football League. Trotwood Madison got by Avon 42-28, and Trotwood Madison undefeated in 15 games. And in that game, Israel Green. These are numbers you would really relish. 35 carries, 326 yards rushing, and 6 touchdowns from the legend out of Trotwood Madison. Can you fathom that? 35 carries and 326 yards?
I'd need an IV immediately after that game, and It was just an impressive performance. I listened to our colleagues Todd Bell and Justin Zwick calling the game, and it sounded just overwhelmingly dominant by that running attack.
You think they give us as much love as we give them? I doubt it.
Probably
so.
not.
No.
Yeah, they're selfish folks over there.
Yeah, but we do much better than that. Let's go to Avon's quarterback, too, Justin O'Rourke, with a great contest, too. 27 of 50 passing and a losing effort for 325 yards and 3 touchdowns. So Avon ends their season at 13-2. So far, Kirtland in 5, Mooney in 3, and Trotwood Madison in 2 are the state champions. Will it be Marion local in this one? About a minute away from the start of the second half. All right, I'm going to put you in both locker rooms. First of all, Coach Trapasso, you're going to handle things for Buckeye Central. You're down by 34 points. But what are you trying to tell your team at the break?
I saw a little bit of frustration by the team out there on the field at the end of the half, and rightfully so. I mean, nothing's going right for them. So for Buckeye Central, it's keep your heads up, play like you've been playing all year. You know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for some of these kids. So go out there and give it everything you've got. And on offense, you know, just try and rely on your quarterback to get something going.
And you look at some of the numbers, too. We went over the stats, but you know, Marion local is 4th ranked in the state, and Buckeye Central out of New Washington unranked. And you know, Marion local, a big win in the semis, getting by Delphos St. John's in the state semis 21-14. That was a team I saw last year that was indestructible when they scored over 70 points in their championship game. Their 3rd-string tailback was the fastest guy I saw on the field last year, and they avenged a loss to Delphos St. John's that they had in week number 9 by a count of 21-14. Their only other loss was to Lima Shawnee, 13-7, not the Springfield Shawnee that we saw earlier in the state championship game in Division III. When you look at the squad from Buckeye Central, their 2 losses were to Winford, 38-6, and they lost to Ontario 28-19, but impressive wins at the end of the season over Lucas and North Robinson, Colonel Crawford, and then in the playoffs too they coasted until that game against Western Reserve, where the pride of Crawford County I should say, had to make a big stand and made a big play on 4th and 2 to knock away a pass. So we'll see what happens here in this contest to start the second half. If you're Marion local, what do you tell your squad right now?
You know, you're not patting them on the back just yet. You haven't won this thing. The ring is still, you know, obviously it's almost in your hands, but you got to finish the game. You have to come out here and keep doing exactly what you've been doing, and you'll be fine. And fortunately for them, they're in the driver's seat, so they control the momentum. They're going to go on defense here first, so a big defensive stand would really, I mean, it just puts the momentum right back into Marion local.
Division 4 around the corner for those of you carrying that game. Norwayne and Canton and Maddie Mock and company get a chance to see what they can do.